welcome to episode 160 of the Mug Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Hadamiya.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary.
Tina, look at this. The power of Christ compels you.
Oh, is this what you got?
Girl.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you a little story.
The power of Christ compels you.
The power of Christ compels you.
Is so good.
I am so freaked the fuck out. Like, I thought that I saw The Exorcist. I've never seen The Exorcist.
You've never seen The Exorcist?
And no. And so I'm like,
Oh,
what's
it's
something
so
fun
good.
that we can do? Let's find something fun that we can do. And I look, of course, I immediately always go to Gateway, which is the most amazing old movie theater in Fort Lauderdale. And thank God it's still around. They're redoing it inside. It looks great. Anyway, they're going to show the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist. Special showing, $9, which I thought was fucking cheap as fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was like, great. So I get these tickets, get over there. We walk in, there's a woman dressed as a nun.
Oh, I love
and her
this.
son dressed as a priest. He was
Oh,
probably
my God.
12 or 13.
Oh, I love this.
And they're handing out little crosses and holy water. By the way, it's real, like, okay, listen. I say real holy water.
Was it blessed?
It was fucking
Oh,
blessed.
then it's holy water.
Right. But here's the thing that I was just talking about that I thought was kind of interesting. Can't anybody bless water? I mean, are we really buying into...
Oh, well,
Do you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
no,
Like-
yeah, of course. We could do some witchcraft over the water.
Can't we say we're blessing this water?
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to throw it at the screen. I was so fucking scared.
Were you? Oh, God, I
Okay.
used to love that movie.
I get it, but I really don't think I understood.
The level.
I'm watching it and I said, I don't think I've ever seen this. Like, I know, like, if you were to show me a screenshot,
Like
like,
Linda
it's
Blair,
The Exorcist.
you're like,
Yeah,
that's
like,
it.
I know clips.
Yeah.
I did not know the depth level of fucking disgusting shit that happens in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
No, it's crazy.
It's nuts. And we were in DC a few years ago, and my ex-husband and the kids and I, and we were walking down these stairs, and we get to the bottom, and people are, like, taking pictures. And I'm like, why are you taking, what happened? And they're like, these are the Exorcist steps, which I didn't fully understand until I'm watching the movie last night. And I was like, oh, like, I know the stairs. That fucking movie is so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
And
she was so young.
she was so young, but also I thought that it wouldn't be as scary. I hate horror movies.
I mean, when she takes
fucking
that
hate-
crucifix and
Bro,
oh.
yeah. And then tells her mother to lick it and shows her mother's face on her cooch. All right? I'm telling you, I was not prepared. Okay? I was not prepared.
Oh my God, I love this.
At one point, I thought I was going to vomit. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking get sick. Because I'm not a horror movie person.
Oh,
I'm
no.
romantic comedy all the way, honey.
No.
Give me a When Harry Met Sally. I'm here for it. This was not my gig. No. But I thought, okay, well, it's from the 70s. It'll be kind of, campy. It won't be scary. It holds up. It is just as scary as it was 50 years ago.
So
when people walked out of there fucking, like, shell-shocked, I was like, I know how they felt. Like, this is the fucking worst thing I've ever seen. It's so fucking scary.
Did you like The Priest?
Yeah, I did like The Priest. Yeah. Yeah.
For a priest, it seems like it's so different because I feel like every priest, I don't know, when I think of priests like that I've ever encountered, he doesn't look like any like priest.
Right. All the other ones did though in the movie.
Yeah.
But there was shit happening that, and I was tired too. It started at 10 o'clock at night, which baby, like for me, I'm just like, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I was like falling asleep, and then she's coming down the stairs backwards with blood pouring out of her mouth, and I was like, oh great, this is what I woke up to at this part? Like, fuck, I can't. It's so fucking scary.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they even got like the movement, like compare like I wonder if it was fresh, made today, like not a remake, like freshly idea, brand new.
Yeah.
What that would be like today.
Also, whoever wrote this is a sick son of a bitch. Sick, bro.
Oh my God.
I loved it. I mean, what are you
gonna do? That sounds so fun.
It's so fun. And it was packed with a bunch of fucking nerds. I mean, the whole fucking theater. And of course, then I'm just like, I'm so fucking paranoid about getting COVID again. And just saying it out loud, I know, I'm gonna knock on wood. Like, I just feel like I'm so paranoid about it. I do not want to get COVID again. I do not want to get it. And so I'm in this theater and I'm like, you're such an idiot. What the fuck are you doing here? Like, what? And we're going to an event tonight. Like, I'm just like out of my mind about these things. But anyway, Loved it. I love these special screenings. I took the kids over the summer to see Jaws on the big screen. That was fantastic.
I need to do that with my kids.
There's so many fun things like that.
Yeah, we gotta do.
Yeah, when they re-release these movies, it's just seeing it on the big screen. It really is. There's a big difference there.
I couldn't imagine seeing that movie on the big screen because
especially because we were too young. Like we were never going to see that on the big screen.
No.
Oh and my god!
I can't imagine
nightmares.
Ooh, in that face.
The first thing I thought about when I woke up this morning was that fucking devil face.
Yeah, that
I was
face.
like, Jesus Christ. Although parts of me, I was like, this is hot. Like, could you imagine? Like, she's just like, what is she? I don't know. She was saying things and I was just like, oh my god, I can't. I'm so fucking terrified right now.
Yeah, and I think too, like the age of her, like makes it all the more creepy and weird and like really messed up. Yeah, really.
At the end, when she says to the priest, she doesn't remember anything. I'm like, that's fucking lies. That bitch is crazy. I keep an eye on her. Like, and one of the funniest parts too, because people were like repeating, like screaming the lines back to the screen, which was kind of fun because they're like total geeked out. They're wearing Exorcist shirts, like they were fucking into it.
It's like a little cult, cult
class. Oh yeah. And when at the end when the nanny, she's like, "You sure you don't want to stay on?" The nanny's like, "No, I'm good. Like I'm out." I was like, "Yeah, bitch, run for Z Hills.
Yes,
get the fuck out. If the girl you're watching is low key growling at night, it's time to fucking pack it up and move on." So anyway, that's what I had so much fun doing that. And so two things we have to talk about. Okay. I don't know what else. If you have anything else on your list.
I have one thing.
So last Friday night, we were recording, and we didn't mention anything about this on the podcast because we were waiting for an invitation from the White House. Hi, sorry about it. Sorry about it. The White House sent us an email, but we've been waiting for days to get this email and determining whether we wanted to take this trip, but we were invited by the lovely and amazing and incredible Senator Lauren Book to go to this rally for the anniversary of Roe v. Wade with the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. So we were so excited. And like
so excited. Because we were like, we're gonna give it till Friday night. And then Friday night while we're recording, it came in and we were like,
we opened the like I was checking on the email while we're recording and I'm like, oh my god, did you get the email? Because it's a long drive. It's a 7-hour drive, and we had to determine, like, we shuffled the kids around and shuffling what we're doing.
First of all, thank you to Hillary for driving.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, my God. Because, one, it would have taken us probably 10 hours if I'd driven.
Tina's like, my husband said you should drive. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm doing that. I'm not driving. You're not driving.
But it was really well. But it went quick. I feel like it went quick.
It did. I mean, we
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about. But so we determined, okay, we're gonna go. So we left Saturday morning. We get up there. We had a great dinner with some friends, with Melissa and Linda and Anna, and then we went to a bar. Hi, in Tallahassee. You know, we're in college town, bitch. We gotta get our groove on.
Yes, it was.
No one could care less. We walked in and it was like they didn't give a fuck. And we were drinking beer, and this guy comes over to the table who works there, and he's like putting bracelets on people. And he's like, I need to see your ID. He walked to the table with a thing like this. He didn't look at us. He goes, I need to see your ID. And he's like, oh. And I was like, yeah, here. He said, you still need it? Motherfucker. And he did. And he was so cute.
He was so
adorable. Cute. Adorable.
The whole place was adorable.
Yeah.
It was like
but
such a nice
I'll tell you two things that happened that night, which really cement old lady-ish shit, right? We're in a bar with 20-year-olds, right? And we're drinking and laughing, and we might have been floating, but whatever.
Yeah. And we were talking about
we were talking about abortion. We're talking about the thing. We're talking about the rally.
Yeah.
And Tina says, you know, in her. All right, we're all fucked up, and so Tina says, you know, I hope everybody here is concerned that they're all going to be fucking someone tonight.
They better get it together.
Yeah. And then I said to my old lady, we're sitting here drinking, and I'm looking up at the ceiling, and it's an open ceiling. There's no ceiling tiles. Just wires everywhere. And I said, this is a fire hazard. Because I'm 44.
Oh my god. Everyone else is like playing skee-ball.
Yeah, everybody's having a great time, and I'm like, we're gonna burn this place is gonna burn up. It's gonna go up and it'll burn in 2 minutes.
Oh my god. That's so funny.
Don't you miss a little bit? I mean, it was a time full of stress and craziness, our 20s, right?
Oh,
but
I
like,
loved
don't
my
you miss
20s.
walking into a bar and not knowing what could happen that
Oh,
night?
I love
That excitement.
Yes.
And that, like, whose eye am I going to catch? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, the night was full of possibilities. And
just fun. So, I
and
mean,
you just
sometimes
fucking
you
roll
would
the dice.
even meet like random people
Yeah.
and end up who knows where, like,
Right.
think,
I mean,
like
that's
risks
fun to
and
me.
things that you just would never do now.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm looking for...
Now we have common sense.
Yeah. I'm like, do they have a permit for these walls? Because I don't think that Tallahassee would allow it. Anyway, so we go to the rally the next day. It was incredible. It was incredible to
Great
see her.
speakers. I mean,
Great
Lauren Book
speakers.
speaks.
Oh.
Oh my God.
She was the best.
Yeah.
I think she would, I mean, to be honest, she was better than the vice president.
Yeah.
I mean, she was on fire.
Yeah.
And because, let's be honest, she's here.
Yeah.
And she's fighting for women and girls and anyone else who can get pregnant here. And Kamala's going back to D.C. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I appreciate the effort of coming to Florida and really highlighting that we are on the front lines of this, because we are. But Kamala was telling stories about different women who have had issues since, like, the Texas ban. And I mean, I got tears in my eyes. It's absolutely horrific. And we're talking about people who intended to get pregnant and then
Right.
miscarried and were not allowed
and have
to get help
suffer.
and had to get sepsis before she was bleeding out, before they would actually help her. I mean, they have to make sure there's no heartbeat before they'll actually go in and help.
And P.S. It's not even a heartbeat.
Right.
Like, that's the whole thing too in some of these cases where it's just like the you know what I mean? It's like an electronic pulse. It just, I'm so sick of it all. I am so sick of it all.
Yeah, it's been the last couple weeks have been bad. I on Twitter and like the news and like for Florida, and we're not even in session yet. And that's when my blood really starts to boil.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to the first few months of this podcast, like January to April, all we're doing is screaming about the Florida legislative session, and then it kind of dies down when we go into the summer. But our blood's exploding. We haven't even gotten into session yet.
I'm
can't
afraid.
read the news.
I'm very afraid.
Yeah.
And I'm reading another book right now. I'm on my 4th book of January.
Bitch, get it.
And it's Joan Didion, and it's Play It As It Lays. And the character needs an abortion.
Oh, fuck.
Well, I mean, it's this whole, she's got issues, and a bad relationship, but it was in the late 60s. So she's describing the entire thing, and it just, I was like so uncomfortable reading it. But the newspaper on the floor, the fake name, the doctor that, like, you have to randomly go to some building, like, you know what I mean? And then for weeks after, she's bleeding a lot more than she's supposed to be bleeding. Her placenta's mess. It's this whole thing. And it just, I was like, what are we doing? That was in 1960. And now we're back at this bullshit. It's wild.
I know.
That's what happens, though, when you don't let people, read books or talk about things, because that's the other thing I wanted to mention is the felony charges on teachers if their classroom library contains any books. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what teachers are told. Like, we have to cover books until someone comes in and approves every single book on the shelf. Or there's felony charges if there's something found, or some kid says, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. It's bonkers. America needs to wake up, because they don't want DeSantis as president.
I gotta say, like, I don't understand even voting for DeSantis when this was a whisper of things. Like, this isn't the first time we knew that stuff was happening. Like, how do people actually vote for this person? Don't tell me it's just the economy. Like, does these other things don't matter? Like, you don't think Florida economy is gonna be okay? I mean, we've been able to sustain ourselves for a long time because we are, like, toxic on the inside, but we're surrounded by absolute beauty. And so people are going to come here, plus Disney. I mean, people are going to pour money into this state. Why are you so concerned about that? Don't tell me you're voting for DeSantis because of the economy. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's the culture wars. That's why they vote for him. They're all I feel like if anyone likes DeSantis, you're an ugly, evil person.
But the worst part is this. I think I've said this about DeSantis before, is he's highlighting things that were never problems before.
Right.
Nobody, believe me when I tell you, as involved as a parent as I am, I've never been like, let me see what's in this classroom library. And guess who else has never done that? Never. Any other fucking parent. And nobody's going in and going, nobody's doing that.
Here's something else I want to say because of the bullshit. Because I have been in very different schools and schools that were leaned very conservative. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you something. Those parents want their kids to have access to everything rigorous as possible to enhance their academic resume. So you better believe in private schools that have conservative families that AP African American history class is probably going to be there because they don't want their kids missing out. They don't give a shit about your kids. But I guarantee you that they're taking all the classes, they're reading all the books.
Oh yeah, yep.
They're reading all the books because they know what they want for their child. People think that everyone's stupid. Well, because I guarantee you go to any top private school and go look at what their curriculum is, and nothing is being banned. And none of those parents who are often highly conservative are asking for any bans.
Of course not.
Because they don't want their kid missing out on anything. They don't give a shit about yours.
I saw that on a podcast yesterday. There was a guy in New York. His kids go to school. And he's in New York. He's like a lawyer and a journalist. And he was like, and he was talking to somebody in Miami. He's like, I don't understand why y'all want your kids to not learn things that all the other kids in the country are learning.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is learning it. So you want your kids to be less than? It's exactly what you're saying. It's exactly what you're saying. Our kids are not going to learn history
because of a small group of loud assholes.
And
ignorant, bigoted
and it's not like we don't have kids. I have children, and I know that they will suffer if they don't know these things. I don't think that they will feel uncomfortable knowing, like, any queer black leader or queer black writer. Nothing's going to be taken away from them.
I know, it's so weird.
Isn't life about experiences and, like, reading these experiences so you see the world through someone else's eyes? That's how we have empathy and compassion for other people. What the fuck are you doing? Right. That's what you want? That's what you want.
And just because you read a book, like, if someone's reading American Psycho, right? It doesn't mean they're going to turn into a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different books with a variety of characters.
I guarantee you they've never even read these books. And they don't know what they are.
They don't know. And they pick out one line.
Yeah.
One line in a book, and it's like, well, what's the context of that line?
Yeah. But
here's
you
the
can't
pick out a line.
But here's the worst part.
That's a basic thing that you teach anyone who's learning how to analyze or think critically, is that you can't go by one thing. Like, you have to kind of look at it in the whole context of the time period of the person who wrote. There's all of these things that you have to think about.
That's it. It's critical thinking.
And it's not about you know what I mean? Like, it's stupid. It's stupid to go, oh my God, we're going to read this, and now all the white kids are going to feel bad. It's like, you talk about it in the context of what things were like at a particular time.
Right.
It's so weird.
No one's pointing at that white kid and saying, you did this. That never fucking happens. But it's one thing if it's like they don't want to talk about really serious, dangerous, scary things that happened during slavery. But they don't want to talk about Hank Aaron.
I know.
They don't want a Hank Aaron book in the library in Jacksonville, where he's from. Right? Like we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
They want to pull his book.
Yeah.
Because of the struggle, when you read this children's book and he talks about the struggle of being a black man and playing baseball, that's going to make people uncomfortable. I mean, we're talking about the most basic things. And if we don't start pointing out that people who are people of color have been treated differently and still are today, where the fuck are we going to be? What kind of generation are we molding? And by the way, before we leave this topic, please share with the audience the story about the girls you were talking to in the standing next to us at the rally and what they told you about kids coming here.
So 2 lovely, lovely, lovely young women that we met while we were standing and waiting for the vice president to arrive. one of them, they were both English majors.
No, Tina almost lost her shit.
I know. I was like,
she was like, my knees are buckling.
Both English majors, and one of them, they both juniors, so they've been at school for a while, and one of them, for like her work study or whatever, gives the college tours. And she said, because I asked her, like, do you think things like abortion are going to impact the type of students that come to Florida State University? And she said that from the time when she began to now, there has been a shift in the types of students that she's seeing on the tour, where before it was like, oh, I'm coming to the school because I like the facilities or the program or the football team or the weather or things like that. They're like, we're here because we love DeSantis and we want to be in the free state of Florida. So can you imagine, like, and then which
is what you've been saying for a year here. And what kind of students are going to come to these universities now?
And as a parent in the state of Florida whose children may have to go to a state school because, like, that's what we can afford. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to be surrounded by these dipshits. You know what I mean?
Dude, this week, a couple days ago,
I don't want them around.
That anti-Semitic table that was popped up at FAU up the street is now, it was out at FSU, and they took a picture, and it was like, Ye was right, Kanye West, about the Jews. And there was a crowd of white young dudes, and I was like, I mean, at least 30 people standing there in front of the table. And I can't really tell from the picture if they're like, get the fuck out of here, or they're like hanging around, but they look like the target audience that these groups are looking for. And these are, not everybody gets to go to college, gets to go to a four-year university. Like, you have to be pretty bright to get it past the test, be able to go, blah, blah, blah.
For some of our top schools in the state, it's very challenging.
So we're talking about bright young people who are falling for this bullshit. Well, come on.
Yeah, but then it's like all of the things like that they're raised in, the things they hear, and I can't stand it.
At the very least, it's disappointing that we're moving backwards. Like, it's disappointing to me that, again, things that we've known as truth for our entire lives, we don't let Nazis set up tables at a public university. That's not free speech. No. It's an outrage. Millions and millions and millions of Jews died because of Nazis. And we're allowing those folks to set up a table. I mean, Kanye West aside. Please. I mean, just Kanye West fans setting up a table should be punched in the face. But they're fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
And Nazi sympathizers.
Kanye West, though, is also a person who is anti-book.
Well, he's a fucking moron.
Right?
He's a fucking idiot.
There's a great article in The Atlantic about people who don't like, not like, oh, I don't have enough time to read, but like legitimately don't like books. What kind of, I can't.
All right.
Well, we gotta go.
The last thing I wanted to bring up was that tonight.
Oh my gosh.
We are going to the HRC Gala, Human Rights Campaign, which is this global, LGBTQ rights organization. They fight for rights. They're an amazing group, and tonight, our executive producer,
our EP,
and bestie, Alfredo Olvera, is receiving the Trailblazer Award, and so we are attending to see him accept that award.
There is no one more deserving.
Charlie's Angels tonight. There isn't anyone more deserving. This man, for the last 4 years, as the president of the Dolphins, and the 2 years before that being on the board there, has transformed this organization in Broward County into a force. He's set it up to be successful for years to come, and it is a powerful political force here in Broward County and in the state. A lot of people look at that.
Him.
Me too. I
love that. Love seeing that picture, and
he's so well thought out and kind and planned, strategic and smart,
brilliant.
And really has a passion for his community, and I'm so excited to be there tonight. I rented a dress from Rent the Runway. Rent the runway. Ooh. Rent the runway. Rent the runway. It's really cute.
I can't wait to see it.
It's kind of like prairie. I don't know how else. It's like that. Like I don't know. I'll show you too when we leave. Before you leave. But I figured out a way to do my hair. I'm gonna do my 2 braids.
Aww.
But I watched a YouTube video where you like spread the braids out so they're kind of wider.
Oh.
So it looks cute. I'm gonna do a whole look.
It's gonna be adorable.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a death drop.
Oh.
Oh my God, I've been watching Drag Race. It's the fucking best.
God.
All right, are you ready?
I am.
All right, let's get it.
All right, today I'm going to tell you the story of the Chamberlain-Conn Act, aka the American Plan.
Oh fuck. Yes. Anything that says American Plan.
I know, we know it's bad.
Ain't good.
It's bad. And it's not, yeah, it's bad.
And I only know that from doing this podcast.
Can you imagine?
I get red
How
flags
funny is
anytime
that?
something happens. I'm like, this is a red flag. I've
Oh my
heard
God.
this before.
All right, so I had never really heard this story before.
Okay.
And, all right, so the Chamberlain-Conn Act was initiated to help stop the spread of sexually transmitted infections among servicemen. But instead,
Oh no.
it led to the incarceration of thousands of women.
What?
Yes. I was like, what? How do I not know about this? And
Again. Women.
that's all I kept thinking.
Wow.
Was
Wow.
it just men just they don't like women.
No.
They don't like women.
No.
And I know it's not all men, okay? I'm talking systematically, like.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm so over it. All right, so our story takes place beginning around 1910 or so, but really it's kind of around the start of World War One. And around the 1950s, although in some areas of America the law was still enacted through the 60s and 70s, and it's still on the books today in a lot of places and has been used beyond the 70s.
What?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right. So when I read about this, I was, like I said, I was really shocked because it made me realize like there's so much in our history that we just don't know, and the more that we kind of dig or that we've forgotten about or just hasn't really been highlighted, I don't know. And I saw this and I said, I got to do this. All right. And even though like 1910, like that's over 100 years ago, but when we're talking about that this was lasting through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, like that's like a still recent history. You know what I mean? This isn't so far removed. And I feel like stuff like this can continue to happen. I mean, look at the reproductive rights of women being stripped. Like women are not safe. We're just not safe. And we've never been safe. So... All right, so the act officially went into effect in 1918 and essentially gave the government power to detain anyone suspected of having an STI. So I want to note that I'm using STI, sexually transmitted infection, rather than STD, which is sexually transmitted disease. They're the same thing, but sexually transmitted disease has had such a stigma because of the word disease that in order to destigmatize that, health agencies say like it's better to say STI and infection, and,
Jesus,
because we want to ensure
everything
that people
is
get
about
proper.
How is it processed through the brain? When it goes through the ear, then what?
Right, so that people get proper treatment and ensure,
get it.
like,
oh my God, just fucking go to the doctor.
I know. So, but if you tell someone, oh, I have an infection that can be fixed rather than I have a disease, you know what I mean? I guess like the language of it, I don't know. All right, so the act became known as the American Plan. So from this point on, I'm just going to refer to it as the American Plan. So if a woman was found to be positive of an STI, they said that that was proof of sex work. It's what it said. That's the correlation. Can you...
You motherfuckers! I mean,
this whole thing is so bizarre.
It is.
It's not bizarre. It's really not. It's just men and this like connection about women having to be pure and good and like these judgments and they don't think that like the men are infected,
right?
And
like
affecting
who do you
their
think?
partner.
Who do you think they're fucking?
It's
like
so
a ghost.
Stupid.
The
it's
ghost.
So stupid.
You motherfuckers. The guy's cool. He can fuck whatever he wants, but God forbid she's not a virgin. Then she's a whore. Right. She works. She's a whore.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, great. But it's men who are, making these claims and writing these laws. So
and they're so fucking horny. Like, they're so fucking horny. I'm sorry you married an old school marm. That's not true. You're very sexy. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like, they married some old hag.
Yeah, mother. They married
mother. And now they can't fuck anybody else because the religion has tied their dick between their legs.
God.
And they're not going to get a divorce or leave. So now they're going to punish all the women they can't fuck.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That is the very core seed of all of it, of punishing women, is that you don't get to fuck them.
Yeah.
Because that's all that it is about with them is their dicks.
Ownership. They want ownership of women's bodies. So along with the law...
This is so fucking crazy to me.
This story is wild. So along with the law, there was a board put into place called the Interdepartmental Social Hygiene Board. And the Secretary of War, the Secretary of the Navy, the Secretary of the Treasury, and the Surgeon General of the Army were members.
Right. Well, this kind of... I mean... The infection running through the military.
They gotta get things under control,
yeah,
right? And like at the time of World War I, and there's a shortage of people. We need these dudes.
Yes.
So
lock their dicks up though. Why you gotta lock women up?
Right. Put some contraption on them.
It's called tucking. Watch RuPaul's Drag Race and tuck that shit between your legs and tape it back.
Yes, tape that shit back.
All right. How about this? Get control of yourselves.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
Oh my God. All right, so here's part of the act. Quote, that the Secretary of War and the Secretary of the Navy are hereby authorized and directed to adopt measures for the purpose of assisting the various states in caring for civilian persons whose detention, isolation, quarantine, or commitment to institutions may be found necessary for the protection of the military and naval forces of the United States against venereal disease.
Oh, please.
They allocated funds to the states, so part of this act was there was money, and they put measures in to help the states root out the STIs and so on. $1.4 million annually.
Damn, in 1910
for states, yes. From 1918 to 1919 was what that was the act that I saw. So after that, I'm not sure how much funding, but probably I would assume like a similar amount. So I want to note that almost all of my sources are either written by or have interviewed Scott Stern or have reviewed the book that Stern wrote about this. So he is like my primary source. He did all this research, and there were several articles that he wrote, and then he wrote this book that I'm actually going to try to get this weekend because I want to like kind of deep dive into it. And the book is called The Trials of Nina McCall. So if you like the story, like be sure to check it out. And it's sex surveillance and the decades-long government plan to imprison, quote, promiscuous women. That's like the subtitle.
Wow.
So please do the same. So writing for history, Stern explains that the American plan occurred for most of the 20th century. And essentially women were jailed or placed in detention hospitals with no trial if they had a sexually transmitted infection. And then they were provided with dangerous treatments to help cure them of those infections.
What?
Men who may have had the infections were not subject to the same widespread punishment, because why would they?
Well, and then they go, fuck this woman, she gets an infection. Fuck that woman, she gets an infection. He's over here fucking everybody, giving infections, and they're all in prison.
Yeah, I mean, some men were arrested, but it's very minuscule compared to the arrest of women.
Unbelievable. Well, it's not unbelievable.
Yeah.
But...
I know. So like we were just saying that the American plan went into effect primarily during World War I, and there was this worry about men getting STIs because they learned that like a large amount of the troops were infected. So, and the primary STIs at the time were syphilis and gonorrhea. So because soldiers often sought the company of sex workers, the government tried to limit access to sex workers. So what they did is they banned any sort of brothels or anything like that within a 5-mile radius of military bases. Like that was like their first thing. Like, okay, within 5 miles, we're going to do this. But Stern notes that the government found out that those pesky STIs were really coming from sex workers, but from hookups the men had when they went back home. So now it's not just sex workers who are destroying the morality and health of our soldiers, but it's all women.
You know, I wish that as worried as they are about the men, I wish they worried half as much about women and abortion.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine hearing this government Even this president.
Oh, doing an American plan to stop men?
Yeah.
I would love it.
You
Let's
know, to protect women. You're worried. They're so concerned about men having an STI,
right.
and women are going to be dying from this, or already have been put in harm's way.
Right. But we can't even protect women from domestic violence.
Right.
You know? So when the American plan went into place, it didn't say women. Okay, I want to be clear, just as like persons. But women were the ones targeted. And politicians all over the place were supporting this plan. Like in their states, they're like talking about this plan and they're like on board with this plan. And even the ACLU was on board.
Great.
So the major incident, so basically the whole plan is the major incident. But how would someone know that a woman had an STI? Well, an officer could just look at a woman and make the assumption.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
so
what?
This is what was happening. If he assumed she looked, quote, dirty or like a sex worker or what have you, she was detained. And then once detained, her body was examined for the infection. If she tested positive, then she was kept and treated, but kept in prison or in one of these detainee hospital kind of places.
Oh my God, Tina.
Stern provided an example of a California woman who was detained by what were called the Morals Squad, whose job...
This is coming back.
Yeah, oh no,
this is fucking coming back.
I was reading this and
I
was
almost
like...
feel like we should not put the story out. Like, this is fucking scary. This is going to happen again. It'll be a pack of like young bros.
Right, or who think, oh, she looks pregnant, or she looks, you know, or who knows.
Oh, she won't go out with me.
Oh,
she's skanky, she won't go out with me. We're going to have to go pick her up.
Right. So the Moral Squad, their job was to get rid of immorality and vices. Good luck. So this woman, Margaret Hennessy, and her sister get picked up because they looked suspicious.
Oh.
This was a married woman with a child.
What?
They took her anyway. At the hospital, she noted that she was, quote, forced to submit to an examination just as if I was one of the most degraded women in the world. I want to say I have never been so humiliated in my life.
Oh my God.
She also noted, quote, I dare not venture on the streets for fear I will be arrested again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Thankfully, Hennessy and her sister were free to go after no STIs were found. But imagine like they're like, take your clothes off, put your legs, spread them open, and we're going to go look at you. Can you imagine?
Tina, this is frightening.
So many other women, though, were not so lucky.
Oh.
I want to know that Kim Kelly's article on Stern's book noted that even if tests were negative, some women were still held if they were believed to be sex workers to protect the men, specifically soldiers. So.
What does that mean? Looks like a sex worker. What does that mean?
I know. That means anybody could go, oh, she doesn't, you know, like.
What does it mean?
Is she just look sexy?
Like is she skinny? Is she fat? Is she sloppy?
What is she wearing?
What is
Is it her shoes?
Is her skirt too short?
Yeah.
Like
is it her makeup? Is it her hair?
It's so fucked up. In the point of view of a man? What the fuck? We're trusting these motherfuckers?
I know. So essentially, the charges.
This story, Tina, how dare you?
I'm sorry. I had to do it. I had to do it. Because I was like, but how do we not know about this? That's the bigger question. How, as women, did we not know that this was happening to other women? You know what I mean? So, the charges that were placed on women. If a woman tested positive, like I said, sent to jail or hospitalized. And what did treatment entail while they were jailed? Mercury injections.
Oh my God!
Arsenic-laced drugs.
What?
And if the women didn't behave or were, quote, unladylike in any way, they were sprayed with water, beaten, sent to solitary confinement, or even sterilized.
What do you mean? They Tina, they removed their...
They sterilized them.
Oh. What the fuck is going on?
This is in America.
This is so insane.
In the 20th century.
No,
All right,
let me ask you something. Is it disproportionately women of color? Like, do you know anything like that? Like, was it?
Yes,
because
women of color and immigrants were the most vulnerable.
Of course!
Because America! Because America!
God damn it!
That's it. Because America.
I knew lily white women walking down the street aren't getting fucking pulled off the street.
No, they were too, but it was...
Come on.
But in the jails, they were separated because segregation, and women of color and immigrant women were, had more beatings and had the severity towards those women.
This is fucking insane.
So, you want to know what else happened?
I can't, Tina.
So officers, as Stern writes in his article, would threaten women with potential arrest or getting what they called vaged.
If they didn't.
Which meant a vaginal exam if they didn't engage sexually with
Knew
the
it.
officers.
Knew it! I knew that was coming! I knew that was coming!
And
the hypocrisy of you motherfuckers!
Can you imagine?
I knew it. I
They're
knew
like,
that they
oh,
were either
you're
going to
gonna
fuck
get
them there or fuck them in the jail. Excuse me, I don't want to say fuck. Rape. You're raping people now.
Rape.
But it's our fault. Right. It's our fault.
So
fucking pieces of shit.
I know. I know. So like I said, women of color and immigrant women were separated from the white women. They were treated more harshly, including, more sexual assault.
Ugh.
And it's so damn awful. Like, a reckoning needs to happen.
How did we not burn? You know what? This is the problem. They raise us to be polite. We have to be fucking polite and ladylike all the time. We should be burning this fucking country to the goddamn ground. Fuck you. How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you do this to women? Because of why? Because of what? Because our vaginas feel good?
I know.
So you can do whatever the fuck you want to us? You can make us give birth to babies, force us to have children, tell us we're whores because we're walking down the street and we might be a little too sexy for you because you're a fucking pervert who can't get himself together. Pull your shit together, motherfucker. It's not our fault.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I can't fucking do it.
I know.
What the fuck, Tina?
I'm sorry.
What the fuck? This is very upsetting.
No,
it's really
upsetting. The whole time I was reading this, that's why I'm like, I have to get this book.
I cannot believe this story.
Because his book, I believe, has like accounts of other women, and like I wanna read it. So some women would be jailed for months, others longer. Kim Kelly, citing Stern's book, notes that some women staged riots and burned down facilities.
God bless.
And an article by Stern in Time magazine noted that one woman jumped to her death, another jumped from a tray to avoid jail, and some even went on hunger strikes. So basically, the aftermath of all of this, what happens is, as we're moving towards, into the 50s, into the 60s, and the women's liberation movement happens, along with the civil rights movement of the 60s, that sort of puts an end to the law. So some points of interest, like I said at the start, some of these laws are still on the books in some way, shape, or form in several states across the country. One essay I read from Bartleby, from the Bartleby site that cited this essay, claimed that in the end, over 15,000 women were incarcerated and punished by this law. And one source noted that along with hospitals or jail, women could also be sent to what they called a farm colony until treated. And a farm colony is basically a housing community for really poor folks or those who are social outcasts. And that's it. That's the story.
Can we just talk about for a second
of the American
that
plan.
These are women who are married, have children, or have jobs and homes, and
they're
taking them out for months away from. What would happen
and
if you
poisoning them?
I would lose my job.
Them.
I would lose my children. I would lose my home. For months, you're taking me out of my life?
Yeah.
Because I look like I'm a sex worker?
And even if someone has an STI, which is a treatable infection, you're going to separate them and quarantine them because you don't want them having sex with your soldiers? Why don't you tell the soldiers, stop having sex for a few months? You don't go off the barracks. You know what I mean? Maybe they need chaperones because clearly they can't control themselves in their horniness.
No, they're men. They're men.
You know what I mean?
So they can do whatever they want. It's not their fault. It's not their. We all know how good it feels to have sex, right? So we can't blame them for that. It's the woman's fault for opening her legs, not the fucking piece of shit's fault for having sex with her.
But again,
what do you want from us? You want to put us on a fucking holy ground of virginal,
it's
woman.
You're the Madonna
you gotta,
whore.
You gotta look a certain way, blah blah blah. But also,
right,
I kind of I want to fuck you too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
Yeah.
we're the ones who have to fucking pay the price for that, right? Always still.
And women have to adhere to this, you know, a lady on the streets and a freak in the sheets, you know, kind of thing. Or like, you have to be you're either a Madonna or a whore, and there's no in between for women. Still today.
It's
For many men.
This is outrageous.
And like I said, I did the research of this, and it was just Stern. It's all of his research. There wasn't a lot of newspaper articles or you know, all the stuff that were news articles and things were cited by Stern in the research that Stern did. But I had a really hard time finding things outside of Stern, like, you know, so like people weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People weren't talking about it. And then I think, like, if it was immigrant women or, you know, women of color, like, you know, it's that same story that, like, their stories don't matter. It's outrageous. So, all right, that's my story. I'm sorry. I saw it. I was like, I just had to do it because I never heard of it before.
I can see this happening again.
Me too.
You know, if we're already politely allowing Nazis to set up tables on public university campuses.
Where's the next table against women?
Who's the band of 30 white dudes, bros, who have a band around their arm that says Moral Squad?
Yeah.
And they're walking through the campus telling your daughters
what to do, how to act.
You have to come with us.
Behave.
And who's not going to go along with this group of men who pull them? You know what I mean? Like, it's completely intimidating.
Whose morality? That's the thing too. I love.
Yes, that's the other part.
Whose morality?
That's the other part. Is that it's you're talking about men who.
You know what I mean?
Are the most immoral. They're the ones who created this fucking law.
And it's the morality law, right? That is a law that's tied to politics that I'm sure is very rooted in religion.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how...
Can we just wipe the world of religion
It's impossible
already?
to
wipe the world of it.
But even that, like, Madonna thing, women will never live up to that. There's not one woman on the planet who will ever be able to live up to that.
And we shouldn't live up to that.
No. But you want us to, right? There's this idea of like we have to live up to this virginal whatever, and that's never going to happen. It doesn't. It's you know what I mean.
All right.
You know the worst fear for men is what they already know, and they won't say out loud. We don't need you.
That's true.
We don't fucking need you. That was my ex-husband's always his fucking thing. You know, you don't need me. Yeah. For what? I mean, God bless him. God bless. But we don't need you. And that they know that. They know that. I mean, it's nice to cuddle. It's nice to cuddle and have someone, you know, the one thing I miss most about my marriage is the security of having someone to move through the world with. Like if you fall, someone's got your back. To me, that is the best thing about marriage. That's the best thing. You have that partnership and you know that person has your back if the person has your back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could be in a shitty marriage where the person's a dick, but that's the thing I miss the most. Otherwise, we can do all this.
Yeah.
I mean, all you need is some batteries and you're fine. We don't need this. I mean, fuck you.
Can we have a state?
That's why they don't want us in politics too. We can run it better than you.
Yeah.
We can run it better than you. We know how to do this.
Can the U.S. give us one state that's women only? And, well, I have 2 sons though, but still, a women only state. They could stay till they're 18. And let's see how that gets run.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
There can be men that live there who want to live in the state, but where women are just in power.
You know? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does it look like to have a government run? Look at New Zealand. That amazing prime minister is stepping down now, but that under her watch, that country has flourished.
Yeah.
And they had one mass shooting, and she shut that shit fucking down. Like within the week, they had banned all the guns. Yeah. And that country is doing better than ever.
Must be nice.
She has to leave because she wants to spend time with her children.
Yeah.
Her child. She's like, I gotta go. I gotta go be with my family.
But you know what? I think that's a good thing though. Like, why does she have to be there forever?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do your time, and move on. I'm sick of it all.
Me too. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this bullshit. Fuck, Tina.
All right, I'm sorry.
Today, I'm covering the attempted assassination of Theodore Roosevelt.
Ooh! Let me get comfortable. Let me get comfortable. Let me get my mic. Let me get my mic here.
Oh, get that coffee. Okay. Are you ready? A little bit of backstory before we get into it. But you remember I covered Roosevelt's daughter, Alice Longworth Roosevelt, in episode 132.
A little wild child.
Yeah, she was fun.
Wild child.
Check that one out. She was crazy. And so this is her daddy. So he was once elected New York Assemblyman, a governor of New York, Vice President of the United States under President McKinley in 1900. Then in 1901, when President McKinley was assassinated, Roosevelt was sworn in as 26th president, and he was president until 1909, when his mentee, William Taft, was elected president. After leaving office, Roosevelt was traveling the country and the world on hunting trips, and he met with various leaders throughout Europe, but refused a meeting with the Pope, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Hey.
But when you go to the
he was like a big game hunter.
Yeah, when you go to the American history, not the American history. Oh, Hillary, you terrible person. What is it? It's the Natural History Museum in New York City. All of these stuffed, animals. That's from Teddy Roosevelt. So back in the United States, while he was living his best life, President William Taft wasn't living up to his mentor's ideas of what a Republican leader was supposed to be. Really, his feelings were hurt that Taft was giving credit to others for his success, and he didn't consult Roosevelt about his cabinet picks. So he's getting all salty about it.
Oh, please. Roosevelt, just go live your life.
No, he doesn't like it. But we're the sensitive ones. Women are so sensitive. Don't cry. Don't cry.
There's nothing like a man's bruised ego.
Oh, yeah. Also, there were members of the Republican Party like Roosevelt who were becoming more progressive. Okay, so Taft is staying old school, and Roosevelt sees the tide, like the wind changing in America, and he's like, these Democrats are going to come up, and they're going to start winning seats if we don't start moving a little bit more to the left. The problem was that Roosevelt was more radical progressive, that he liked these other ideas, and he had more aggressive goals, such as curbing the judiciary, which Taft rejected. Roosevelt urged progressives to take control of the Republican Party at the state and local level, and to avoid splitting the party in a way that would hand the presidency to the Democrats in 1912. In August 1910, Roosevelt escalated the rivalry with a speech in Kansas, which was the most radical of his career. It marked his public break with Taft and the conservative Republicans, advocating a program he called the New Nationalism. Roosevelt emphasized the priority of labor over capital interests and the need to control corporate creation. He also called for a ban on corporate political contributions to campaigns.
Okay.
And he campaigned for
Republicans.
Me too. And he campaigned for the Republicans in the 1910 elections, in which the Democrats gained control of the House for the first time since 1892. So he's right in his predictions of like this party's going to start taking over control, which kind of happens after a Republican is elected. Democrats take a House, and Republicans are elected, or Democrats are elected, right. Republicans take back the House, like just what just happened, right?
Yeah.
In the midterms. Among the newly elected Democrats was New York State Senator Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who argued that he represented his distant cousin's policies better than his Republican opponent. The Republican progressives interpreted the 1910 defeats as a compelling argument for the complete reorganization of the party in 1911. The National Progressive Republican League was created. Their objectives were to defeat the power of political bossism at the state level and to replace Taft at the national level. So I had to look up bossism, and it means that it's a situation in which the political party is controlled by party managers.
Oh.
Yeah, so they don't want that.
Okay.
And they of course Roosevelt expressed his support for their progressive policies. So between January and April 1911, Roosevelt wrote a series of articles for the Outlook defending what he called, quote, the great movement of our day, the progressive nationalist movement against special privilege and in favor of an honest and efficient political and industrial democracy, end quote. Roosevelt continually criticized Taft after the 1910 elections, and the break between the two men became final after the Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against U.S. Steel in September 1911, which humiliated Roosevelt because he had approved of this acquisition when he was in the Justice.
And now his buddy's like, bye.
Yeah, like let's stick it to him. Yeah,
that's not nice.
Like something that was a big accomplishment under his presidency is now like, No.
Yeah.
Roosevelt began to envision himself as the savior of the Republican Party from defeat in the upcoming presidential election so he's now, of course, like toying with this idea. And then he announces in February 1912 in Boston, quote, "I will accept the nomination for president if it is tendered to me. I hope that so far as possible the people may be given the chance through direct primaries to express who shall be the nominee," end quote.
Okay.
So now he's coming for you, Taft. But at the Republican convention, Taft, of course, ends up winning the nomination, but that didn't stop Roosevelt. He went back on the campaign trail, but now as the presidential nominee for the Progressive Party.
Oh, hi.
So I talked about this race when I talked about in the Alice Longworth Roosevelt episode, because this really ruins her marriage, because her husband Nicholas Longworth worked for Taft.
Yes,
and so she of course loves her fucking dad and was like on the campaign trail for her dad, and the husband's out there for Taft, and it fucking like blew this whole marriage up. Plus she was fucking around and shit. Like,
good
she
for
was,
her.
Yeah. Did they lock her up for it? Did she look like a sex worker?
Oh my god.
You motherfuckers. So, anyway, here we go. While on the campaign trail, a man attempts to kill Roosevelt. On October 14th, 1912, while arriving at a campaign event in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Roosevelt was shot from 7 feet away in front of the Gilpatrick Hotel by a delusional saloon keeper named John Flaming Schrank, who believed that the ghost of assassinated President William McKinley had directed him to kill Roosevelt.
What? No.
Yeah.
A spectral being whispered in his ear.
Yes. Avenge me, bitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
Love it. I love it. So the bullet lodged in his chest after penetrating his steel eyeglass case and passing through a 50-page thick single-folded copy of a speech titled "Progressive Cause Greater Than Any Individual," which he was carrying in his jacket.
Thank God he had that boring-ass speech with him.
Bitch. 50 pages.
I mean, nobody wants to hear that.
Double-spaced.
How long is that? Jesus.
Single-spaced.
Single-spaced, 50-page speech?
I know, and the train's moving and he's still fucking talking. Like,
my God. Thank God you're a boring man. That saved your life.
Oh my God. It's so true. I'm the savior. Oh God, this guy again. Schrank was immediately disarmed, captured, and might have been lynched had Roosevelt not shouted for Schrank to remain unharmed. What? Roosevelt assured the crowd that he was all right. Then he ordered police to take charge of Schrank and to make sure no violence was done to him. So listen to this. As an experienced hunter and anatomist, Roosevelt correctly concluded that since he was not coughing up blood, the bullet had not reached his lung. He declined suggestions to go to the hospital immediately and instead delivered a 90-minute speech with blood seeping into his shirt.
Are you out of your mind, Roosevelt?
Now,
Patty,
here's my question.
I have a paper cut. I'm like, somebody help me.
Like, is this manly or is this like a lunatic? Like, where are we on the scale of this? Because I was like, damn, motherfucker, right? Like, he's fucking tough. But then I was like, wait a minute, are we encouraging, like, this just sounds crazy.
Or, I mean, is he so desperate to win?
Yeah.
And he's so desperate to win, he doesn't want to miss out on the speaking engagement opportunity.
Maybe.
You know, like...
But I'm leaning more towards very toxic, like, I've got to be a man kind of thing. Like, don't lose face.
Doesn't he hunt, like, you know, rhinoceros and shit?
Yeah. But the motherfucker just stood up there and gave a 90-minute boring-ass speech. I don't know how he read it with a hole through it.
Through the paper.
I think this is the word that's supposed to be here. There's a hole in my paper. His opening comments to the gathered crowd were, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot. But it takes more than that to kill a bull moose."
Oh, God.
A bull moose.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm this big, I'm tough game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And it takes a real man to take down that big game.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
God.
Only after finishing his address did he accept medical attention. Subsequent probes and an x-ray showed that the bullet had lodged in Roosevelt's chest muscle, but did not penetrate the pleuria, which I looked up, which is like this membrane that's covering the lungs. So if it had touched that, it like is all very soft after that.
I mean, the fact that he knew that he wasn't shot in the lungs is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it from Monty Python? It's just a flesh wound. It's really a flesh wound.
Oh my god. Oh, the cat is crazy today. So, doctors concluded that it would be less dangerous to leave it in place than to attempt to remove it, and Roosevelt carried the bullet with him for the rest of his life.
I feel like for someone like him, he probably that's his badge of honor, you know.
Both Taft and Democratic nominee Woodrow Wilson suspended their own campaigning until Roosevelt recovered and resumed his. When asked if the shooting would affect his election campaign, he said to the reporter, quote, "I'm fit as a bull moose," end quote.
Him and the bull moose.
I had to look it up. I'm like, what's the difference between, because I'm thinking rocking a bullwhip.
Yeah.
What is it, Rogie? Like, that's what I was thinking the whole time. And it's pretty accurate. It's got the big fucking...
Oh my god.
The bull moose became a symbol of both Roosevelt and the Progressive Party, and is often was referred to simply as the Bull Moose Party. He spent 2 weeks recuperating before returning to the campaign trail. He later wrote a friend about the bullet inside of him, quote, "I do not mind it any more than if it were in my waistcoat pocket," end quote.
Oh,
okay,
God.
So a little bit about the shooter.
Oh my god.
I know, bitch. So a little bit about the shooter, John Schrank.
I'm sorry, but he's the guy that's like, you want to, that's nothing, check this out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Then I gave a 90-minute speech and they were cheering me on.
Blood was dripping.
Yeah.
God.
Nobody gives a fuck.
Who cares?
Nobody even... This is what happens when you lock us up for looking like skanks. Okay? You get shot, we go, who cares? No one gives a fuck. You used to be president, you got shot? Big fucking deal! Big fucking deal.
Oh
go fuck yourself, motherfuckers. Locking women up because they don't look
right.
Oh my god, I will never. I'm gonna move through the day like that. That's how I'm moving through the day. Okay, with fire in my fucking eyes. Fucking polite my ass. Like, fuck it. Why are we so polite to people?
I don't know.
Fuck you.
They don't deserve us.
That's it.
They don't deserve us.
That's it. That's it. Fuck. Don't. God bless them. God bless them. Let them, please God, let them move through the world at their own peace. But just leave us alone.
Leave us alone.
No one's bothering you. You know? Could you imagine? I'm going to just walk up to dudes and I'm going to say, "You look like a fucking hooker."
Yeah.
You look like a whore.
Yeah. That would never happen.
No.
It's, like, even you saying that sounds bizarro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like flip the script. Flip the fucking script and then tell me if that law's okay. Every lawmaker who's writing laws about women's bodies should do that. Flip the script. There's a lawmaker, God, I didn't get her name. She's in the U.S. House, and she's like this older black woman, and she said that this is what I do every time I get a bill about abortion. And she's got a garbage can, she's fucking throwing it right in. She took pictures on her Twitter, and she was like, "Bring the trash." I was like, damn.
Yes.
That's what we should do. If you're right, if you're a man and you're writing a bill about a woman's body, flip the script. How would you feel if this was you going to the doctors and being told you can't get health care?
Can you imagine?
Fucking pieces of shit.
God.
Tina goes, "Who cares?" Motherfucker was shot. Big deal.
Oh my God. No. Big deal.
Yeah, you were shot, but have you ever been randomly pulled over and had a man shove his hand up your vagina because he thought you had an STI?
Can you imagine?
Big deal.
Jesus.
Fucker.
All these women.
It's so fucking upsetting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this shooter.
Oh, yeah.
This fucking sad sack. So he emigrated to the U.S. at 9 years old. His parents died soon after, and so he was left to work for his uncle, a New York tavern owner and landlord. Upon the deaths of his aunt and uncle, they left him some valuable properties, and with the expectation that Schrank could live like this quiet and peaceful life. Unfortunately, he was then he became very heartbroken because his girlfriend. Not only did they die, but then his girlfriend died shortly afterwards.
Oh my God.
Her name was Emily Ziegler, and she dies in the General Slocum disaster on New York's East River. Okay. Have you ever heard of this? I think this could be a muck story. But it's this terrible tragedy that happened in 1891, and it was a steamboat, and it sunk in the East River. And it was reported that 1,021 people of the 1,342 on board died.
Wow.
And it was the deadliest disaster in New York history until 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. So he, loses his fucking mind. He sells all his properties and he kind of drifted around the East Coast for years. And he became profoundly religious and a fluent Bible scholar. And his debating skills were he was yelling at women that they were, debating skills were well known around his neighborhood watering holes and public parks. So he's basically a fucking nuisance, like screaming about Jesus or whatever.
Oh my God.
And he spent a great deal of time walking around city streets at night, but he never was arrested or anything like that.
But there's that common denominator of religion again.
Yeah.
Religion is the poison.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, when bad things happen to me because I was raised Catholic, I do get, I look up and I say, why is this happening to me? I look to God. Like,
I don't mean like if someone has faith that's poisonous. I just feel like the institution of religion is poisonous. It has caused so much pain and wreaked so much havoc. Like having your own spirituality, like that's something I just feel like the people in power running these institutions. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree. Soon after the assassination attempt, psychologists examined Schrenk, and it was reported that he had, quote, insane delusions, grandiose in character, end quote, and declaring him to be insane. At his trial, the would-be assassin claimed that William McKinley's ghost had visited him in a dream and told him to avenge his assassination by killing Roosevelt.
That's
because
wild.
McKinley dies and Roosevelt becomes president, right? So
that's just so wild.
Somehow he connected those two were. So Schrenk was committed to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane in Wisconsin in 1914, and he remained there for 29 more years until he died on September 15th, 1943 of bronchial pneumonia. His body was donated to the medical school at Marquette University for dissection. And then in the end with this election, neither Taft nor Roosevelt won the presidential election of 1912. The Democrats nominated Woodrow Wilson, and he went on to win 42% of the 6.3 million votes and to become the 28th president of the United States.
Wow.
And that's the attempted assassination of Teddy Roosevelt.
My God. The teddy bear is named for Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Too bad they didn't name it Bull Moose. Oh!
How funny, though, that, like, this guy that's all about his big game, like, is associated, his name is attributed to, like, a little cuddly child's toy.
It is weird.
Ugh.
You know what? Fuck off. I can't stand these motherfuckers.
Oh, my God.
I can't stand them.
And he's the speak softly and carry a bigger stick kind of guy, right? Isn't that his, like...
I don't fucking know.
Like his
I know yeah. Oh, like, he also... Isn't he the one who also gave that big speech about in the Coliseum or something? What's that speech?
Oh.
My boss used to have it hanging up in his office.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to look it up.
Something about being a fighter. I don't know.
Oh, God. I don't want to listen to this guy.
Male toxic
He is
bullshit.
such a... he's like a bro. He's a presidential bro.
But people stood there for 90 minutes just watching his shirt get more and more red. I mean, they're like, what the
maybe
fuck?
they say they're like, oh, is he going to pass out? Is he going to die? Like, maybe that...
The spectacle.
Yeah.
Still didn't win. Can you imagine you get shot and you still don't win?
God, I wonder, because, like, God, it's probably hot. Where, like, flies buzzing around. What was happening during that speech?
Oh, my God.
Was he sweating? Was he pale? Ew, who wants to see that? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I
would think it'd make you look weak, not
I don't
strong.
know. I mean, if he's standing there, he's probably like, I don't know. I think I'm just like anti-man right now.
Oh, that fucking story got me off man for like a good decade. I mean, it's over. I didn't think I was going to make it to my 50s, but we're going to get there. We are going to get there.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, that's it.
That's it.
We're going to look for pictures from us at this gala.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so cute.
I'm excited.
Me too.
All right.
Well, adios, muchacho.
Bye.
Bye.